Mailer, dealing within the black and white dialectic, still was within the battle between Plato and Aristotle in the Western tradition, which is the problem of the Promethean ego. Marshall, being color TV and more tactile, he was outside of that Western dialectic, and he played off the cult of the West versus the cult of the East. That's the meaning of this point. So I don't know if you noticed that, but yes, Mailer and McLuhan are key people in the chart.
In relation to Kennedy, Marshall McLuhan had, when he was reviewing the debates in the '60s, I don't know if you were actually at any of the debates, helping or behind the scenes.
No.
But Marshall said Kennedy was the good sheriff in the town that would help you and help you out and keep the town safe, and Nixon was the greedy, weaselly railroad lawyer with the 5 o'clock shadow. That came across immediately. And Mailer chose to call his article for Esquire that he thought put Kennedy over the hump by about 100,000 votes by getting hipsters to vote for him. Superman comes to the supermarket. So they were both aware of TV's utilization of the pop consciousness in this election.
Yes. That's the amazing thing.
You maintain it was Kennedy's mastery of television was one of the things that contributed to his murder. Is that right?
Yep.
Or am I just...
No, that's exactly right. The on the chart I have here as the symptoms of the problem in the computer phase from 1960 to 1977. A symptom of that, a disservice or a figure of the disservice, is the JFK assassination. Because TV is obsolete by 1960, so TV becomes the figure. It's no longer ground. And it's when... See, computer is LSD to the business world.
Right.
So that's a problem for the Rockefellers and the international money media managers. And TV, with computers the ground, then that's a problem for the money people. But they're not going to see the ground affecting them. They're going to blame the figure. And the previous ground becomes figure when a new ground surfaces. So TV becomes the figure. Now, Nixon is visual space.
Right.
Kennedy is kinetic space.
Kennedy's like a Roy Lichtenstein painting as opposed to...
No, he's kinetic space, which is the main bias of American culture. He's a product of the movie radio sensibility to the max.
Seductive, pulsating dots as opposed to a static...
A male Marilyn Monroe, you know. And so the fact that he had the right resonance in his image with the tactile mosaic mesh, which becomes a figure and noticeable on the instinctual political level, not on the money management level, which is a deeper ground, that threatened the money managers. That this person, they were getting affected by television too. They were feeling the threat to their sense of power, and Kennedy acted out that power. And Kennedy was unaware of the effects, but then he started to feel it in response as his regime went on. And so then he felt more megalomaniac and felt that we could change things. That was his mistake, that he thought he could change things. And so Kennedy's image is the threat that evoked his assassination on a gut level that the people who were involved in killing him, including myself, and I wasn't a planner, but I acted out some of the levels.
That begs my next question.
Well, let me just finish.
Well, the rest of the show.
Yeah. The thing is that everybody was threatened by this new environment, which was a computer, but they didn't see it. They only saw it in the TV image. And Marilyn Monroe herself went through a crisis in her Hollywood career because she was obsolete by the TV image. That whole drama is acted out. Now, what's really amazing, if you want to communicate, and I point this out, or it's quoted by Nelson Thal on the second CD, if you want to rub it in the face of America so that they look at this problem of Kennedy and Monroe and the assassination, for 30 years they wrote books about it. But it wasn't until Oliver Stone put it in a movie form that it communicated and changed the law. See, you have to pick the right medium for the right culture. And movies are the archetypal, instinctual, unconscious for a kinetic space America version. All right, now you wanted to say something.
This might well be the rest of the first show.
The question?
Who killed Kennedy and why?
Well, see, here's the first thing. Are you willing to protect me if I say? Because the people involved in it are still making sure it's suppressed. If we announce on this show who killed Kennedy, you would have a hell of a life from this point on. So, since you're not aware of the ramifications of saying that, I'm not going to say it because of what will happen to you and your loved ones. And it could happen to me, though I have a command position, the Secret Council 10, since 1988.
Well, I was going to ask you to cover me, actually.
Yeah, this is a problem, because I'm controversial on so many levels that I've got many people I've got to protect, and I'm not sure, having only met you, I'm not sure if I can fit you in to protect you. And so the way to protect you is not to say it, is not to get into it.
Well, let's assume that you do say it.
Yeah, what would happen?
Let's assume they were even holograms.
Right.
You know, and certainly as Bob, you have a mastery of metamorphosis. I mean, Heller used you in Catch-22.
Yes.
One of the great American novels. One of the first American novels. One of the first world novels.
The first propaganda for Club 22.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bob was a changeling on Twin Peaks.
Oh, that was about me. And
you could. Why don't you give like a facet of the conspiracy?
Okay.
Are you telling us there was a conspiracy?
Oh, certainly was. It was a trauma. It was a great tragedy. The characters didn't know what was really motivating them. I think there's regret in certain people who did the assassination. They realize now, because the TV age, in simple terms, is 53 to 93. People, by the late 80s understood how they got fooled by the TV effect with the subliminal problem of computers. And once we wake up, we have remorse. It's human. We all have the spark of creative reason and goodness in us. I believe that goodness wins over evil. I don't believe in the yin-yang where good and evil constantly cancel each other out. And so, therefore, guilt will come to you. It's like the symbolists at the end of the 19th century. A lot of them converted to Catholicism. As they got older, that instinctual guilt comes through. And that's why the parents are right, even the pink parents, to tell the kids to cool it in their instinctual desire to be chaotic and to have fun. Because you're going to feel embarrassed about the things you did later. When you're older,
that's
at
good.
some point.
That's where country music comes from.
Right. And so, morality has a base because it's a way of giving you slack later, because the way the stages of apprehension go in a normal human being is that you get detached by the time you're 40 or 50, and you start to see what you did. And you can't stop feeling how, it's like waking up, you can't stop feeling how out of control you were and how irresponsible you were in your dreams.
So you go from the Dionysian, the wallowing in indulgence and substances,
to the Apollonian,
from the setup of morality,
to
the later Apollonian.
That's right.
That's the texture of realizing what you did.
Yeah, that's
coming to terms with it.
That's the usefulness of my book here, which is you as a poet.
Do you want to hold that up? That a communion with Bob Dobbs?
Yeah, with the telephone coming out of the key, the dangling phone, which I put out after I was not important for me to be on the radio in Toronto anymore.
You don't just give people the dangling conversation as Paul Simon did. You give them the entire apparatus behind it.
I give them the stage of apprehension, which brings us back to this point, is that this book this book is Napoleon, which is a
Napoleon.
E-P-Y-L-L-I-O-N. It's a small epic, a little epic, like The Wasteland was. And it's a homage to The Wasteland, and it spirals past The Wasteland. It has new negentropy on a broader scale. The Wasteland is basically a collage of cultural content. This is a collage, I could say cultural forms, but a better way to say it is the archetypes of the schools of thought and perception. The archetypal schools or archetypal pathways of thought, which is inner, and perception, which is outer. And it's a mixing of the two. There's a dialectic in there, but then I try to go past the dialectic. But the stages of apprehension, which this book mimes, for the content of the global theater, which is the media themselves. This is the wasteland for the media forms themselves. Whereas the wasteland itself is the content, is the anthropomorphic content expressed through culture, and it's encyclopedic.
So the forms act themselves out as you read them.
Very important.
That was your intent?
Yes, that's the point.
Is that where language and poetry should be at this point? Is that where
I claim that the poetry today is expressionist in the sense that anything is poetry. It's like Frank's point. All is music. Anything is music. So anything is poetry. So everybody can join in. It's the great participatory mandate of the electric age. But how do we get perspective on that? And I think, the medium to get perspective in is print. So I figure, and that was the traditional role of poetry in the Gutenberg phase, not before Gutenberg. I mean, this is what Keats and them, they wanted to show the aesthetic moment, the recollection in tranquility of an important experience or moment.
The quill is in there.
Yeah.
Always
very good.
Always scratching the parchment.
Yes, and so there is a visual bias in the aesthetic moment mandate. But how do we, and then the symbolists who came in after Shelley and Keats, the second romantics,